for this afternoon, we are going to talk about the overview of the tour guiding profession. And as what I've already discussed in our course outline, we are starting the discussion with a review of the basic tourism concepts. I know that some of you are already rememorizing the definitions uh, that we have discussed earlier. We're going to get to know who is the tour guide, what is his or her role in the tourism experience, and we'll also get to uh, go down a little history of tour guiding. How did tour guiding become the way it is today? No. And I think siguro for today, for this afternoon, we are only covering these three topics. Now, for the next meeting, we will be focusing on the roles, functions, and responsibilities of guides. What are the different types of tour groups and tour guides? Because different groups call for different types of guides. And also, I'm going to introduce you to the idea of tour guide accreditation so as to really professionalize the industry. Okay, so as always, in any study, we start with the definition of terms, right? But this time around, we are not going to start with the definition of tourism. That's going to be the second. The first thing that I'm going to ask is what comes into your mind or what words can you relate to the word guide?
Sir,
Yes, Maddie.
lead po.
Sorry?
Lead.
Lead. To guide is to lead. Okay, correct. What else?
Assist.
Assist. To guide means to assist. Thank you, Karil.
Manage po, sir.
Rachel says manage. Correct. What else?
Advice po.
Advice. Guide. Advice. Correct.
Direction.
Give directions. That's right. I think Relis was supposed to answer.
Indicate po.
Communicate.
Indicate.
Indicate. Yeah. Like the guide sa mga guidebooks or markings. Oh, all right. Correct. What else? Meron pa?
Instruction po.
Instruction. That's right, Giselle. April?
Escort, sir.
Escort. Oh, escort is something that's very much related to tour guiding. We're going to talk about it a little more later. Justin. I think Justin was supposed to answer something earlier.
Mentor po.
Mentor, guide. So, Justin is now referring to the person, right? The guide. Now, last one. Who wants to catch up?
Sir.
Yes, Jaira.
To lead po, sir.
I'm sorry?
To lead po, sir.
To lead. Okay, so we go back to the first idea, that is to lead. Now, if we are to look at the dictionary, the word guide may be considered as either a noun or a verb, right? So if it's a noun, it may refer to what? It may refer to a person who advises or shows the way to others, right? Or if a guide does not pertain to a person, it may sometimes refer to, for example, a book, a map. But the function still remains that it is there to advise or to show the way to others. Okay? Now, if a noun is an action word, then a guide is a naming word. The guide can also be considered as a verb. And a verb is an action word, right? To guide, guiding, guided, will guide, right? So, if defined as a verb, it could have two definitions. A guide means to show or indicate the way to someone, as related to the first definition, that's a noun. So, to guide means to show or to indicate the way to someone. Or, to direct or have an influence on the course of action of someone or something. So, to influence, to guide is to influence the decision of the course of action of someone or something. So, that is a guide. Okay? So, we start with these basic premises as we discover more about the role of being a tour guide. Now, tour guide. Tour guide. We have defined the guide. Now, let's do a quick refresher. I think Karil answered it earlier, right? when I ask you the definition of tourism? Can we have other classmates now recite the definition of tourism?
Sir.
Sige,
Sir.
I'll call
Sir.
Cass.
Sir, yung ano po, luma po or bago po.
It's up to you. I think you better recite the revised one, the new word.
According to UNWTO 2014, tourism is a social, cultural, and economic phenomenon which entails the movement of people to countries or places outside their usual environment for personal or business or professional purposes. And these people are called visitors, which may be either tourists or excursionists, residents or non-residents. And tourism has to do with their activities, some of which involve tourism expenditure.
All right, thank you so much, Cass. Everybody, you must already get used to it. At the start of every new course, we are always going back to the basic concepts, and that includes the definition of tourism. Now, you know what? As I was researching as I was preparing for this lecture, one thought struck me. We have always defined tourism. We have always used the word tour, right? We have always mentioned this word, but we have never really deliberately tried to define what a tour is. We talked about tourism, but we never really defined what a tour is, right? So, what's a tour? I'm going to ask Belle to read.
A tour refers to the activities of people when they go through a place in order to see and learn about it in person.
All right, so that's according to Merriam-Webster's dictionary. A tour refers to the activities of people. If we are going to look at it, this definition really goes well with that of tourism. 'Di ba? Kasi tourism comprises the activities. So, a tour is an activity under the scope of tourism. And in tourism, there are a lot of other activities aside from tours, right? For example, attending seminars, lounging at the beach, those are not tours, but those are tourism activities. Can you follow? Going on adventures, those are tourism activities, and yet they are not tours. But a tour is a type of the activity wherein there is a specific intent for a person to go to a place, to witness the sights of a place, to marvel at the destination, and to learn from it. Because that is what is indicated in the definition. Alright? So, a tour is one of the activities under the larger scope of the activities that comprises tourism. Okay? Can we understand each other kahit we're speaking in English here na we're not translating?
Yes po.
Yes po,
Okay
sir.
naman. Sige, we continue. No. So we combine the two words now. Tour and then guide. No. Tour guide. One of the most we have all heard of this, right? And for example, you hear of the word tour guide or that somebody is a tour guide. Then may I ask everyone here, when you learn that somebody is a tour guide, what are your expectations of that person?
Sir,
Yes, Maddie.
they're the ones who leads the travelers or the tourists to some interesting parts of the destination
Oh, they
or
lead
that trip.
travelers to interesting parts of the destination. What else? What are your expectations of a tour guide, Karin?
Sir.
Sir,
Yes, go. Karin and then April and then Justin.
sir, they know all the places. They know all about the places or attractions.
All right. A tour guide must have a lot of knowledge, right? They must be knowledgeable about places. April, how about you?
Sir, just like what Karil said, a tour guide must have a broad knowledge about that particular area, and its primary duty is to inform the travelers.
The duty is to inform or to share knowledge, right? Okay, thank you, April. Justin, how
Sir,
about you?
Sir, tour guides po are the one who provides assistance po, information on cultural, historical, and contemporary heritage to people on organized sightseeing po.
All right, so uh,
Sir.
very technical ang definition ni ano, they assist and provide services to people. Giselle, yes.
Addition lang po to, sir. The tour guide is the responsible for ensuring the safety of the travelers.
Well, that's a good addition. You must ensure that your travelers are safe. So there are a lot of of conceptions, of expectations when it comes to tour guides. But you know what? If we are to refer to the legal documents, this is just how the Department of Tourism defines what a tour guide is. Sige nga, Camille, can you read it for us?
A tour guide is an individual who guides tourists, both foreign and domestic, for a fee, commission, or any other form of lawful remuneration.
All right, thank you. So that's a definition from the Department of Tourism in 1995. So it's quite old. No. A tour guide is an individual who guides tourists for a fee. So basically, it's a job, right? And you get paid for guiding tourists. However, the word guiding there is somewhat vague and generalized. What does it even entail? Right? What does guiding even mean? You just have to show the way? Or you just have to point out where the attraction is and then they get to pay you and then you're already a tour guide? Diba? If you come to think of it, or if we based our understanding on this definition alone, we could think of a tour guide as kahit sino. No, anyone who leads an organized group of people for a certain tour and time allotted for a particular visit. Whether may training sila or not, as long as they are able to point out where the direction is or what attraction are you looking at and then you get paid for it, you can be called as a tour guide. But do you think that is a proper conception for tour guides? Hmm. Do you agree with that idea or notion of tour guiding? You just point out where the direction is, say to the people, what's the name of the attraction that you're seeing right now, and then at the end of the day, get paid for it. Is that it?
I don't.
You don't think so? You don't agree? Why or why not?
Because like what we defined earlier, sir, we define a tour guide as someone who has knowledge about the area or the place that the specific area, and they should know about the history, the culture, the informations about those areas.
All right, so thank you. You know what? One of my teachers in graduate school was a trainer, still a trainer of the Department of Tourism. He is an accredited DOT tour guide and he's been a tour guide for more than 30 years. No. And he was telling us that before, when there was still no formalized tourism industry, you know what the tour guides do? They show the people around and then at the end of the day, they sell jewelries and they sell pearls to tourists because the Philippines is the pearl of the Orient. So, it's now the time for the pearl of the Orient to be sold to the visitors after the tour. So, mag-aalahas wala mga tour guides dati because, ayun, the jewelry, the pearls are being highlighted. So, that was before. No. Pero right now, no, rigorous trainings, no, there are a lot of qualifications that must be needed for you to be really called a tour guide. And hindi naman sa ipinagdadamot natin yung tour guide na term, ha, but there are a wealth of tourism terms. For example, tourism facilitators, tourism escorts, tourist guides, no, that could be used. But ang tour guides kasi, the term tour guide kasi could have a certain prestige or a certain level of qualification. And that is what is defined by tourism expert Bienvenido Claraval. So this is the definition that he gave as to what a tour guide is. It's a lot longer. It has a lot more words, right? So can I ask Paul to read this definition of tour guide?
A tour guide is an individual who, by virtue of his/her qualifications and training, either as an employee or affiliate of a duly licensed travel and tour company, who is
Mhm.
duly accredited by the Department of Tourism and licensed by the local government units where he or she residents is
Resides.
author- resides is authorized to accompany visitors, both foreign and domestic, to conduct and manage sightseeing tours and tour package for a fee, commission, or any other form of lawful remuni-
Remuneration.
remuneration. Remuneration.
Thank you, Paul. We have to improve on our pronunciation of several words, but thank you still for your reading. All right, so if you will notice, the basic elements are still there, right? To accompany visitors, to conduct managed sightseeing tours for a fee commission or any other form of lawful remuneration, because it's still a profession, it's still business, right? But where do we get the difference? In the first part. So the first part explicitly tells us that not everyone, just because you want to, can already or readily be called a tour guide. Because a tour guide, look, by virtue of his or her qualifications and training. So training is very important. Now, either you could be either a full-time employee of a travel and tour company or a freelance guide, because there are a lot of freelance guides. So you could be either one of those, and you must have what? Accreditation and license. Now, it's also stated there which government agency accredits tour guides.
The Department
It's
of
the Department
Tourism.
of Tourism. But who issues the licenses of tour guides?
LGUs.
The LGUs or the local government units. Actually, both, either one may suffice. If you're accredited, you may or may not need a license for the LGU, or if you're licensed, you may or may not need accreditation from either. No, you can already practice the guiding because there are local guides, mga ganyan. However, no, can I ask Karil to turn off her microphone now?
Sorry po, sir.
Okay, so whereas accreditation, it's not actually a requirement. Hindi siya katulad noong sa other tourism enterprises natin such as travel and tour companies and hotels where accreditation is required. However, dito sa tour guiding, as a tour guide, it's as if you could look at it as another badge. Because when you are a DOT accredited guide, it means that you have passed the standards, right? There's a certain added level of quality to the work that you do when you have accreditation, 'di ba? So I'm a DOT accredited tour guide. And when you are a DOT accredited tour guide, one benefit is that you get promoted more and you could get to be paid more. No. Kaya nga some travel companies are explaining are complaining, no. We want a DOT accredited guide but they cost more than your regular guides. No. Yung mga not accredited. But I tell you, being part of the travel business, malaki talaga ang difference when a guide is DOT accredited or licensed as compared to dun sa mga nagpi-freelance. Kasi there are also a lot of those na yun ang ginagawang work. Okay, so tour guiding. Now, here in the Philippines, we sometimes confuse or merge the term tour guide with the term tour escort. Who among you has heard of the word tour escort before? This term? Or is this something new to you?
Already heard, sir.
Already heard. So what have you heard about it?
Sir, it's not clear, but I think yung what Tour escort is the one who accompany the travelers from the very start and until the end, sir. It's
Until the
like
end.
they
Sana all
yes,
until the end. Okay.
they are not ano po, they are not like tour guides that they will just accompany the travelers in that specific place, but their escorts is like, for example, we're going to Korea.
Mm-mm.
Tour escorts from the Philippines up to Korea. Uh, the tour escorts and the travelers are together from the Philippines until they go back here in our
Okay.
country.
Okay. Yeah, we get the idea. Thank you so much, April. Now, ang tour escort po is not the partner of the tour muse. No. The tour escort or tour is another job title. No, that is closely related to the work of the tour guide. But since we are already studying here and definition of terms is important, tour guide, tour escort, in what ways are they different? So a tour guide conducts and manages sightseeing tours. You arrive at a destination, someone discusses with you the sights, the stories of that specific destination. That's a tour guide. But the tour escort conducts and manages the tour package. So not only is the tour escort concerned with the sites that you're going to see, he or she is also responsible for making sure that the itinerary is followed, that you have the due reservations, and then the tour is going smoothly. Okay? Another is that a tour escort, April is correct, he or she accompanies the tourist from the point of origin to the destination and back to the point of origin. Whereas, ayan, nagsunod-sunod. Whereas the tour guide acts as a host and operates only within a destination. So in the case of April, um, we are a tour group. From the Philippines, we are going to Korea. I will be the tour escort. So I will join you. I will assist you, check in your baggage, make sure that we are at the right gate at the airport, that all your travel documents are okay. And then I am going to join you during your flight to Korea. And then once we arrive in Korea, somebody there is going to welcome us. And that person will act as the host. He or she will entertain us, will give us the information that we would like to know, play games with us. So that's the tour guide. However, when the tour is done, we are going to leave the guide in Korea, but the tour escort will stay with us until such time that we are able to return to our point of origin. Nagigets, guys?
Yes po,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So that's the basic difference. What else? Hmm. A tour guide is always expected to lead the tour and give information about the place to be visited. But a tour escort is not expected to give any information. He or she is not expected to entertain the group. Basta the tour escort is there to make sure that the tour goes smoothly. Okay? And during my time as an employee of the travel and tour company, madalas din kaming tour escorts. And we have experienced a lot of different guide attitudes na sometimes pleasant, sometimes not very pleasant. No, but still, we perform our tasks as manager of the tour. Okay? No. Sometimes tour guides are full-time staffs of travel agencies or tour operators, or sometimes they work freelance so that different travel and tour agencies could avail of their services. But tour escorts are almost always employed by the travel agency and the tour operator. So these are the main differences. Okay ba? Na-appreciate naman ba ang difference between the tour guide and the tour escort, everyone?
Yes, sir.
Yes po.
Okay. So, tour guide. So we have already defined what a tour guide is. Guide, tour, tourism, tour escort. So now we look at the profession. Tour guiding. Okay? Oh my gosh, nililito, kino-confuse lang kami ni sir kasi pinapaikot-ikot lang yung mga salita. Right? So, tour guiding. What then is tour guiding? Tour guiding refers to the work that tour guides do. The provision of professional service to interpret the cultural and natural heritage of an area. This definition came from WFTGA. Medyo mahaba yung acronym, no? That's the World Federation of Tourist Guide Associations. So, provision of professional service to interpret. And by interpret, we don't just say na you translate it from English to Filipino or from English to Bisaya, from Korean to Thai, from Thai to Japanese. No, that's just translation. But when we say interpretation, we are presenting information in such a way that is entertaining and relatable for visitors. Okay, so that is tour guiding. And over the years, the role of the tour guides have changed. Now, what we are going to look at next is how these roles have indeed changed over the last thousands of years. At tama po kayo ng rinig, I have said thousands of years because guiding is one of the oldest professions in the world. Of course, they were not literally called guides during that time, but people have always been in need of guides, even in the prehistoric era. Oh yeah, say hello to your friends if you recognize them. 'Di ba? So prehistoric people, cavemen, what do you think do they need guides for?
In order to navigate places they go to.
Oh, they have to navigate places they go to. And what's the reason that they have to navigate places? 'Di ba? What are they doing? Why are they making gala? And why
To
do they do
find
this?
food, sir.
To find food, to hunt for animals, to find a safe shelter, right? And they have to have someone to lead them. So, in a sense, tour guide, guide na rin yon, di ba? And if we are looking at the Bible, di ba, one of the first things that we have learned is that one of the root words of tourism daw is the word Torah, right? And Torah means what?
To study po.
To study or to search. Correct. No. And we can also refer to Torah as the first 5 books of the Bible. That's Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Deuteronomy, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. Deuteronomy and Numbers, sorry. So those are the first 5 books. And if you remember, still remember your Bible stories, there are some personages there na we could assume have been guides in their own right. The first one is Noah. Uh, who among you is familiar with Noah? Come on, Christian children. Who is Noah? And what is his story?
Sir, I'm not sure.
Yes, go ahead, Ren.
Noah is the one who guide different animals and his family
That's correct. To
in a great
safety.
flood po.
During the Great Flood, he built the ark, right? He brought his family and different animals to safety from the Great Flood. He built Noah's Ark. So in this sense, he was the leader, the guide of the family, although his first customers were not necessarily people, but instead were animals. No. How about Moses? Moses. Who knows the story of Moses? Come on. Mga Kristiyano
Para
kayo, di
siyang
ba? Sige, Ella, go ahead.
para siyang sa water po.
The one,
Not sure lang.
What did Moses do with the water? Did he drink it?
Hindi po siya. Para
What?
sa ano po yung kay palabas po, yung 7 commandments. Yung 10 commandments po.
Yeah. He was the person who received the 10 Commandments and sabi ni Ella, mga kalaban daw. Ano ba yun, mga hator? Okay. Anyone else who would like to give more details to the story? Talia, yes.
Moises is the one who leads the Israelites. Israelites po ba? Israelites to escape their city ata po.
Mm-mm. To escape slavery from Egypt. What did he do? He parted the Red Sea, di ba? He led the Israelites to the Promised Land. Okay, so these two are sinasabing parang they are personages who have acted as the as the guides of their time. No, and 'di ba they lived during the ancient period, and during that period, people mainly traveled only for two reasons. One is for business. So what you see on the screen is a picture of a caravan. They are the tribes of mga merchants. They ride camels, they bring goods with them, and they travel to different cities. Right? So that is one of the purpose why they travel. And then another purpose of why they travel is for religion. No. Siguro you must be familiar with some of the stories of the Greek gods, sina Apollo, sina Poseidon, sina Zeus. 'Di ba they have their temples, they have their oracles na people really travel to in search for guidance. Who would like to know the future? Am I going to win this war? So they would like to know that, and so they travel. But aside from business and religion, people find very little reason to travel. Okay? Not until the era of the Greeks. Because during this time, tourism flourished. So there was slavery during this time. And you know what? Sabi ni Socrates, hard work is for the slaves. As free men, yung mga nakakaangat, mga nakaka-LL, nakakaluwag-luwag. Uh, what should we do? We must devote our time to things that matter, things that will make our minds healthy. That's why during this time, the what is called as the leisure lifestyle also became very prevalent. What is this leisure lifestyle? 'Di ba? Yung mga mayayaman, the rich and the noblemen and the free men do not have to do work because they have their slaves to do it. So what do they do to spend the day? So they pursue music, philosophy, they argue with their fellow freemen and nobles, non-work. So they look at it as if it's a measure of self-development, and it became a great part of the Greek society. So ito yung yung literal na meme na maraming time. So they have a lot of time to kill, and so they pursued it in different activities that enhance their minds. Okay? Now, one of those activities became a very famous sporting event, which they first celebrated there during that time, but we still do until today. Who has an idea of what sporting event is that?
Sir,
Yes.
fiesta po.
I'm sorry? Talia?
I'm not sure about this po. Fiesta po.
Fiesta? Yeah, they do festivals, but that's not exactly a sporting event, right? What sporting event kaya?
Track events po, sir.
Track events? Oo. Yung isang, one of the events during that sporting event is track and field. Has anyone heard of the Olympic Games?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Di ba we still celebrate this until today? Right? So, the Olympic Games, it started in 776 BC in Greece, where the games were, take note guys, it's a religious event. They do it in as a way to worship Zeus in Olympia. Kaya siya tinawag na Olympic Games. No. And una muna, women are not allowed to join. I'm sorry, girls. Right? So, merong mga boxing, wrestling, track events. So, these are just some of the events here in Olympic Games. It provided a stimulus for tourism based on a major sporting event. During this time, walang wars. Parang may laban si Pacquiao, di ba? Walang traffic, walang crimes. So during the time that Olympic Games are held, the city-states hold a truce, ceasefire muna, because they have to participate here. And people from all over the Greek world gather at Olympia to participate. Now, Greeks traveled to the site and were housed in tented encampments, creating a tourism event. So it's really a festival, no? And unlike now, where, di ba, Heidelin has won gold medal, talagang real gold medal, and then a lot of money, and a lot of sponsorships, ganyan. During that time, winners of the Olympic Games only get to win a crown of laurel leaves, and some bragging rights. So, yun lang ang pananalunan nila. No. Now, syempre, people are traveling from all over. There are people who must organize them. You get the idea? So, some people see it as an opportunity for them to earn. Kaya, merong mga careers or there are certain types of people na lumabas din. Take note ha, I just got these pictures from Google so that it will be easier for us to visualize them. No, we have the Periegetai, we have the Exegetai, and we have the Proxemos. No, what are the work of these people? The Periegetai are the leaders around. So they organize people in groups and then they assign them with their, dito yung encampment nyo, this is where the next event is. And then we also have the exegetai, who are the explainers. What exactly are we looking at? And then we have a sort of travel agent of sorts. The Proxemos, they help fellow citizens in traveling. So escort slash travel agent. So if you can notice from the descriptions of their job, could you consider them as parang sort of guides? Di ba? No. So wala pa rin tayong talagang explicitly known as tour guides during that time. Now, it all continued, tourism continued to flourish even during the time of Herodotus. Herodotus is also a Greek personage. He is known as the father of history. But aside from that, he was also considered to be as the first travel writer. He wrote the finest accounts of travel in the ancient empires. And you know what? One of his most notable works is the listing of these. Does anyone know anong tawag dyan sa 7 na mga structures na yan? The oh, how are they collectively called? The 7 what?
7 ancient wonders po.
Correct. The 7 ancient wonders of the world. So, sabi ni Herodotus, these are the most marvelous structures that any man could witness. And of course, hindi pa naman siya nakakarating sa China or sa America during that time. So, in the Mediterranean world, at least, di ba? We have the Lighthouse of Alexandria, the Mausoleum at Halicarnassus, the Colossus of Rhodes, the statue of Zeus in Olympia, the Temple of Artemis in Ephesus, the Great Pyramids of Egypt, and the Hanging Gardens of Babylon. And at present, only one of them still stands, and that is the alin na lang ang nabubuhay dyan sa 7 yan? That's the yes, Moe.
The Great Pyramid po.
The Great Pyramids of Giza, which we can still visit up until now. So, Greeks. And then what comes next are the Romans, right? So, during the Roman Empire, in 500 BC, lalong na-expand ang tourism opportunities kasi if we are learning about history, di ba? The Roman Empire conquered almost all of Europe, Middle East or Western Asia, and Northern Africa. Right? So almost all of the known worlds ay hawak ng Roman Empire. And because of that, they have to travel quickly. They built extensive road networks. And we know, with easier access, easier ang pagta-travel. Right? And it is also during this time that the mayayaman, yung mga nakaka-LL ulit natin ng mga kapatid sa Rome, they created leisure facilities. They have spas, baths, resorts, similar to the Greeks outside of the city of Rome. So again, sorry girls, it's not a good time kasi girls are not allowed to enter spas and baths and resorts. No, because you're second-class citizens. At least during the ancient Roman period, no. So, pero ito yung ilan sa mga tourism highlights of the Roman Empire. They even hosted events in places like this. Who can identify this structure in the slide? This is the
Colosseum.
Colosseum in Rome, 'di ba? Is ano, it is a structure that is made for entertaining visitors, watching gladiatorial fights, mga animals, right? And as I was reading, at one time it was even able to host a naval battle. May mga barko daw na ipinasok sa loob. Pero yun ay chismis. I'm not sure. No. Alright, so it was during this time, Roman Empire. Ngayon, what happened? 'Di ba? Rome did not last forever. The Roman Empire fell and thus entered the medieval period, 500 AD to 1508 AD. What happened during this time? It was also called as the Dark Ages. Anyone who has an idea, why was it called as the Dark Ages? Kaya, why Dark Ages kaya? So this is the class which did not really focus on world history on junior high school. Okay. Why Dark Ages? Anyone who has a hula? O sige na, ako na para mabilis. No. Why Dark Ages? Because when the Roman Empire fell, there was no central authority. And because of that, different people, ang dami mga tao, they are fighting for authority. And that is also the reason, kung mapapansin nyo, why are there so many castles in Europe? Right? Marami mga feudal lords, mga local monarchs are trying to assert authority at lagi sila naglalabanan. So it was not a really good time for tourism. Another thing is that during that time, travel became very difficult because roads were not maintained. Pinamugaran siya ng mga murderers and thieves. That's why it became very dangerous to travel. Only a few sets of people had the urge nor the capacity to travel. And dito, during this time, nauso yung form of travel that we call pilgrimage or religious travel. It's a form of travel that we still do until now, right? What do people do when they engage in pilgrimages? Where do they visit?
Churches, sir.
Mga churches, di ba? Visita iglesia kung sa atin. Right? So, the pilgrimage or religious travel is the only substantial form of travel during the Middle Ages. Kasi even even mga bandido, takot pa rin naman sila kay Lord. So, they would not dare harm pilgrims. Now, pilgrims, some of the sites that became famous for pilgrims are the Canterbury in Winchester and Walsingham in London, in the United Kingdom, in England. So these were some of the famous sites na, di ba, some of us, merong mga naniniwala, for example, you go to Obando, and then you pray to Santa Clara, and then you're going to have children. Right? Or you visit Kamay ni Jesus in cure of different sicknesses. Now, they also believe that if you're able to visit these places, you will seek cure or forgiveness for sins. Now, the thing here is that not everyone has the money to travel because this is primarily reserved for the upper and middle class. Roads were dangerous. So, ang nakaka-travel lang talaga are those belonging to the clergy or working for the church, mga sundalo or mga knights, and the royalty. Because they are the people who can afford to have guides. And what is the role of guides during the Middle Ages? They are the pathfinders. So they lead the way, they protect, they are safety escort, and they are the bridge to ensure safe travel. Kailangan ba matalino yung guide? No. As long as you know the way kung paano mo dadala yung pilgrim to the place he or she is visiting, and also you must have the strength to protect. So more than being a guide, it's more like being a bodyguard. No, you are not even asked to discuss things. What you only need to do is to samahan yung traveler. Okay? Can you follow, people?
Yes po, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So we still go
Yes,
through
sir.
world history. After the Middle Ages, we have the what we call as the Renaissance period. Renaissance is a French word. Who knows kung ano ibig sabihin ng Renaissance?
Rebirth.
Rebirth. Correct. So, Renaissance is a period of rebirth. Rebirth of what? Rebirth of what? Rebirth of interest in arts, architecture, and literature. Kasi during the Middle Ages, ang primary concern mo is safety, pagkain, at pagdadasal. No, but it's the Renaissance period actually started in Italy when some people they visit the ruins of the old Roman Empire. Sabi nila, ang ganda nito ah. So why don't we try to copy and devote our time exploring more about this? And so na-reignite ang interest ng mga tao in creating art, architecture, and literature. And what you will see on the screen are several pictures from the Renaissance period. O, kilala natin yung babae doon sa upper center. Who's that?
Mona Lisa.
Si Mona Lisa. So that's a painting of whom? Yan, hindi kilala kung sino nag-paint kay Mona Lisa. Leonardo da Vinci. Diba? Okay, so this is the city of Fiorenza or Florence in Italy, the St. Peter's Basilica in Rome, sa Venice, Italy. So this is the painting The Creation of Man. And these are some, si Michelangelo, si si Donatello, yung mga Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, right? So they were the artists of the Renaissance period. Now, because of this reintroduction or reignition of the interest in art, nauso din or gumanda rin yung image ng mga tour guides during this time. In what way? The Grand Tour became popular among English noblemen. The Grand Tour. What's the Grand Tour? It's a period of 2 years when a son, take note ha, son, hindi daughter, a son of a wealthy English class or English family is sent to travel all over Europe to learn about culture, languages, music, philosophy. This is the usual route. So it starts in London, and then you spend some time in Paris, France, and then you go to Prague in the Czech Republic, and then you go to Vienna in Austria, and then you go to Switzerland, and then to Italy. So you spend 2 years of your life as a nobleman learning about culture. And what is expected of you if you join this grand tour? Syempre, you are expected to have a broadened mind, malawak na pag-iisip. You could speak at least 3 or 4 languages because you have visited several countries. You are self-reliant and independent, a highly developed taste. Hindi ka jejemon, hindi ka gangsta. Okay? So, these were the expectations for grand tourists. And if we come to think of it, even si Dr. Jose Rizal was able to do it during his trip to Europe. Right? No. So, grand tour. Only after you are able to finish the grand tour, tsaka ka lang matatawag na gentleman. Okay? So, that's something that's new. Ladies and gentlemen. Kaya pala, that's the original term, gentleman, because there's a sense of refinement and taste. Kaya ka tinawag na gentleman. May finesse. No? Okay. Anong role nito sa tour guiding? Anong ambag niya sa tour guiding? Syempre, these noblemen, these young boys, will not travel alone. They have to have tutors. They have to have traveling companions. At doon na uso yung mga tinatawag nating mga cicerone. Cicero, they're also called bear leaders or antiquary. What do? They are the personal tutor of Grand Tour travelers. So dapat may kasama si aristocrat during the 2 years of his travel. He has to have a tutor. And a cicerone is expected to be what? Articulate, multilingual, and well-versed in many subjects. And because, syempre, parents are willing to pay large amounts of money for their children's education. That is why there was keen competition among the best cicerones. Kasi if your cicerone is bad and your child did not become a gentleman dahil hindi siya masyadong natuto during the grand tour, that will be a shame for the family. Right? So, para ang bata ay matuto ng malala, kailangan niya ng magaling na tutor. Cicero. So you see, the role of the tour guide is transforming here. During the Middle Ages, he was just a bodyguard. But right now, he's now a teacher. Can you follow the story? Okay.
Yes,
So,
sir.
let's continue. Sana I am not yet losing you ha pag history kasi syempre medyo nakakabore yan minsan. Now, in Italy, we have what we call as the Vetturino. Have you seen pictures of mga ganitong karwahe in cartoons?
Yes, sir.
Diba? So, in Italy, these are called Vettura. And the Vetturino is the driver of the Vettura. So what's their role? They are guides who can provide protection from robbers and rogues. So still, protection of the visitor, of the traveler is of utmost importance. Kaya meron talagang role ang tawag Vetturino. And they should be able to fend off highway robbers to ensure safety conduct of the tourists. Okay? Vetturino. Now, syempre, Renaissance. Ang sunod na sa Renaissance is the age of exploration and we enter into the early modern world. Early modern world starts when America was discovered. Now, travels to and within the new worlds became popular and they were done by explorers rather than pleasure travelers. The new world that we refer to here is the American continent. Kasi 'di ba, first off, they thought the earth was flat. And then, because of the discovery of America, ayan, na-discover that there are still uncharted territories. So, Europe became the old world. America is the new world. And since it's an uncharted territory, napakadami ng opportunities to explore. But if we are going to explore it, we need guides. No. And there are a few New World guides who were known to have existed during this period. Some of the most famous names, these are authors, si Charles Dickens, si Francis Trollope, and Alexis de Tocqueville. They are writers who have traveled the New World, and during their exploration, they were also able to write guidebooks about it. Okay, so tatlo yan, si Charles Dickens, Francis Trollope, and Alexis de Tocqueville. And then again, back in Europe, back in the United Kingdom, come on, we all know this man, Thomas Cook. Who is this man again?
Father of the travel agent.
Father of
The father of?
travel agency.
The father of travel agency. So kapatid ni travel agency si John Mason Cook, na anak ni Thomas Cook. So, Thomas Cook, we know him as the father of the travel agency. He was a cabinet maker and a Baptist preacher. We know his story, right? He arranged a train excursion from Leicestershire to Loughborough for a prayer meeting. And from there, he got the idea na pwede pala akong kumita by arranging travel for people, and that's when he established Thomas Cook and Company. Now, his son, the name of his son is John Mason Cook. Together, they created the first tour company that's called Thomas Cook and Son. And these are some of their tours. Why are they important in the tour guiding business? Because, una, they formalize tour guide package tours. And another is because John Mason Cook was the tour guide. And he specialized in touring American battle sites or American battlefields. So, si John Mason Cook, isa rin sa mga pioneers of tour guiding. Okay? So, we've been talking about Europe, America. Eh, paano naman sa Asia? Ano, nag-intay lang tayo na marating tayo ng mga Espanyol at mga ano? Actually, no. In 18th century Japan, a traveler could pay for a tour guide or consult guidebooks because they are being written and being sold. An example of that is this mismo Kaibarak Eken's Keijo Shoran. So in the old world capital of Kyoto, Japan, they sell guidebooks so that you can do some sightseeings of your own in feudal Japan. Okay? So 18th century Japan. Now back to the United States. We're going back and forth. Walt Disney opened the first ever theme park. What theme park is that? EK? Star City? What?
Disneyland po.
Oh, it's Disneyland. And in Disneyland, he hired these two people, Bill Skiles and Peter Henderson. Who are these two people? Oh, may picture na sila. Oh, hindi na sila mga drawing or whatever. Okay? So, who are these people? Who is Bill Skiles and Peter Henderson? They are among Disneyland's first guides. And what's their contribution to the development of the role of tour guides? They were also the first to perform musical comedy stints while guiding. So may patawa na, may patugtog na, so may entertainment value or may entertainment factor that has been added to the role of guides. Okay, so you see, nag-transform ulit ang role ng tour guides. They are now hosts and entertainers. And up until today, protectors, teachers, entertainers, those roles are still being practiced by tour guides. Okay? Ngayon, nangyari ang World War II, of course, tourism stops. Kasi it was not a good time. But after the World War II, in London Country Council, they re-established its guide training program at tinawag na approved guides, which accredited guides with a badge and a certificate. And, guys, since sa Europe nga, more likely na sila yung unang talagang nag-train ng professional tour guides until now. So England was one of the first countries to regulate and train guides, and because of that, until now, yung mga European guides have been widely regarded as having the most advanced training and the highest guiding standards in the world. Europe, pag sinabing Europe, guide ka sa Europe, there's another level of training or another level of skill sets that you possess. Okay? And that European training guide ay basis ngayon ng mga training guides all around the world. Even our ASEAN, even our TESDA, local guiding. Yan ang basis. No? And in Europe, there's an elite group of tour guides, specifically sa UK, who wears this badge. This is called as the blue badge. So, blue badge guides, if you wear this, ibig sabihin, you are a model of tour guiding in the world. Okay? And right now, as we continue to progress, nagkakaroon din ng different developments when it comes to tour guiding, di ba? There are guides na umaarte, there are guides na kumakanta, there are guides na who create themed tours. There are guides because of the pandemic na nag-o-offer ng virtual tours. And this, guys, is just a short history of how the tour guiding profession has developed over the years. And this is also where our story ends for today. Okay? Nagustuhan nyo ba yung kwento ng ating development of the tour guiding profession? Ako, hindi yata nagustuhan ng mga person. Now, are there questions? I hope that you find the story very interesting. No, kasi you can really see how tour guiding has progressed over the millennia, right? Now, and if I'm going to ask you, hmm, sige nga, could you summarize the transformation of the role of the tour guides over the years? As in summary lang, what what have you understood from the story? Paano nag-transform ang role ng tour guiding over the last over the last years?
Sir,
Yes, go Rachel.
it's just a summary lang po. But based on my understanding, history played an important role on the tour guiding profession today. As you've mentioned, from teacher to security guard to entertainer, and now it's a fusion of all. Tour guides today are are a complete package because of the things that had happened in the history or in the past.
Ay, that's beautifully put. Kasi 'di ba pinag-usapan din natin earlier in sustainable tourism, we are what we are today because of the actions of the people who preceded us. That's learning from this morning. So, the same goes for tour guiding. The tour guides of today are what they are right now because of the several developments that have happened over the years. If you will notice, 'di ba, they have started out as they're pathfinders, tagahanap lang ng way. And then they became security guards or bodyguards, and then they became teachers, and now they're entertainers. And right now, modern tour guides play all of those roles. Right? Okay. So, ayun, I hope that you had fun learning about the story of the tour guiding profession today. So, that is just the first half of our overview of the tour guiding profession. Okay? So, we are going to have, what are we going to have? Wala, hindi muna tayo magko-quiz. Don't worry, guys. We are going to be meeting again on Thursday. Ha? So, we are going to be meeting again on Thursday to discuss naman what are the different types of tour groups and what are the different types of tour guides. Magmi-meet tayo ng Thursday because since next week, we are going to have a face-to-face. Ang gusto ko, mag-activity tayo doon. Hindi tayo lang. Hindi tayo discuss lang. So, we are going to meet on Thursday so that when we meet face-to-face on Tuesday, we're going to have fun. Okay? So, yeah, question so far. Wala naman? Okay, so if there is nothing else, again, I hope that you learned about the historical development of the tour guiding profession and learned from our discussion today. So that would be all. I'm ending this recording and I'm also ending today's